So I got something super cool for you today. Welcome to Disruptarian Radio. I'm your host, DJ Disruptarion, also known as Ryan Thompson. And with me, as always, is my good friend and our local correspondent from Eugene, Oregon, Adrian Gonzalez.
Hey there, Ryan. Man, it's great to be back on the show, you know? We've got like a totally packed episode today, and I'm pumped to dive into it with you.
I'm pretty excited too, Adrian. Today we're going to take a deep dive into Trump's first 100 days back in office. And let me tell you, it's been like absolutely wild, right?
Oh, totally wild. And we're really going to break down this whole DOGE project that Elon Musk is spearheading, which is, the Department of Government Efficiency. It's actually blowing the lid off some pretty shocking stuff in Washington.
Yeah, and we're also going to compare what's happening now with the previous administration. The contrast is just, wow, it's night and day, isn't it?
Night and day, man. And don't forget, we're also going to talk about the, pretty intense response from the left wing. I mean, the protests, the violence. It's gotten really, really out of hand in some places, and people need to know what's actually going on, right?
Absolutely. So, stick around, Disruptarian Radio listeners, because we're about to get into some serious truth-telling that you won't hear from the mainstream media. Let's get started. So let's actually jump into what's been happening in these first 100 days, because honestly, it's been like nothing we've seen before in modern politics, right?
Oh man, absolutely nothing like it. So we're only 100 days into Trump's second term, and it's been completely different this time around. I mean, with Elon Musk as this new Secretary of Disruption, they're moving at lightning speed compared to any administration I've ever seen,
I'm curious, what do you think has been the biggest change so far? Because there's been so many things happening at once. It's hard to keep track sometimes.
The biggest thing, hands down, has been the auditing. That's the game changer here. Previous administrations would come in and just kind of shuffle the deck chairs, right? But Trump and Musk are actually going through the books. They're actually looking at where the money goes. And what they're finding is, it's honestly shocking, man.
I've heard that before from other administrations, though, promising to drain the swamp and all that. What makes this time different?
See, that's the thing. They're not just talking about it. They're actually doing it. And they've got the receipts to prove it. Musk especially brings this, Silicon Valley efficiency mindset to government. And he's treating it like a failing company that needs restructuring. They're finding corruption that's been buried for decades. And they're putting it all out there for everyone to see.
Which is interesting because most administrations try to hide the bad stuff, right? But these guys seem to be, almost celebrating what they find.
Exactly. They're totally flipping the script. Every piece of waste or fraud they uncover, they're broadcasting it. It's like, look what we found today. And it's embarrassing a lot of career bureaucrats who've been running these programs for years. The really interesting part is that they're not just finding a few million here and there. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars of waste.
And from what I understand, they're not exactly making friends in Washington with this approach.
Oh, no way. The establishment is absolutely freaking out. Both parties, actually. Because this kind of deep audit shows how both sides have been playing the same game for decades. And Trump and Musk are basically saying, the game is over. It's like they're treating taxpayer money as if it actually belongs to the taxpayers. But a concept, right?
So what would you say is their main focus in these first 100 days? Is it just exposing the corruption, or is there more to it?
It's definitely a two-pronged approach. They're exposing the fraud, but they're also immediately cutting it off. When they find something, funding gets pulled that same day. No committees, no studies, no we'll look into it, just dones. And that efficiency is what's making the old guard in Washington absolutely lose their minds.
So, I've been hearing a lot about this DOGE thing that Elon's been put in charge of. Can you break down what that actually is? Because it sounds kind of funny, right? Like the cryptocurrency or something.
Yeah, it does sound funny. And I'm pretty sure Musk knew exactly what he was doing with that name, right? So DOGE stands for the Department of Government Efficiency. And it's basically Musk's new brainchild that Trump gave him total control over. It's this special task force that's not bound by all the normal bureaucratic red tape, you know what I mean?
What's the actual purpose behind it? I mean, what are they trying to accomplish?
So the main purpose is super straightforward. They're looking at every single government department, every program, every expense, and asking one simple question: is this necessary? Like, does this actually serve the American people, or is it just burning through taxpayer cash? And man, the stuff they're finding is absolutely mind-blowing.
How is Musk running it differently than a typical government department?
That's what's so fascinating about this whole thing. He's running DOGE exactly like one of his companies. He's brought in this team of, like, engineers and data scientists, not politicians or bureaucrats. And they're using actual metrics and analytics to measure government performance. It's like bringing Silicon Valley efficiency to the most inefficient organization on the planet.
And are they making real progress? Because we've heard promises about cutting government waste before.
Oh, they're making real progress. The difference is that Musk set up these really aggressive 30, 60, and 90-day targets. And when they identify waste, they don't just write a report that sits on a shelf somewhere. They immediately implement changes. Like, there's no committee meetings, no discussion panels, no year-long studies. They find a problem and they fix it, And sometimes that means completely shutting down entire programs.
What kind of resistance are they facing within the government? I imagine there must be some pushback.
Massive resistance. Like, absolutely massive. Career bureaucrats are in full-on panic mode because DOGE is basically exposing how they've been operating for decades. And here's the brilliant part. Musk is documenting everything on X in real time, so when some department tries to obstruct or slow walk something, he just puts them on blast publicly. It's total accountability through transparency, and they absolutely hate it.
So it's actually working as a kind of a government watchdog with real teeth?
Exactly. It's the government watchdog we've always needed but never had. And the key thing is that Trump gave Musk actual authority to implement changes, not just suggest them. That's the game changer here. They're not just identifying the waste, they're actually cutting it out and returning that money to where it belongs, in taxpayers' pockets.
So, let's talk about one of these bombshells that DOGE uncovered. I've been hearing some crazy stuff about Social Security fraud. Like, is it really as bad as people are saying?
Oh man, it's actually worse than what people are saying. The Social Security fraud they've uncovered is just mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. So what DOGE found was literally millions of beneficiaries who either don't exist at all or who would be, like, biblical figures based on their birth dates.
Wait, what do you mean by biblical figures?
I mean, they found people in the system who were supposedly born in the 1800s, right? People who would be like 140, 150 years old, still collecting checks every month. And it's not just a few cases, it's systematic. The craziest part is that nobody was even checking this stuff. Like, nobody in the government thought, hey, maybe we should verify if these super ancient people are, actually alive.
That's insane. How much money are we talking about here?
We're talking billions. Billions with a B. And that's just from the obvious fraud, the cases that were easy to spot. They're still digging into the more sophisticated schemes. The thing is, well, this isn't just incompetence, this is by design. The government bureaucracy has been using this as a slush fund for decades, and nobody had the guts to actually audit it until now.
So how does this even happen? I mean, don't they have systems to prevent this kind of thing?
They have systems, but the systems are purposely designed to be inefficient. It's like they built in all these loopholes and then staffed the departments with people who had zero incentive to close them, and anyone who tried to point this out before was basically shut down or reassigned. The deep state is real, man, and it's been bleeding us dry for generations.
And now that DOGE has found this, what's happening? Are they fixing it?
They're not just fixing it, they're completely overhauling it. They've already stopped payments to something like 3.2 million suspicious accounts. And they're implementing this new blockchain verification system that Musk's team designed. It's going to make it practically impossible to commit this kind of fraud going forward. And the best part is, they're actually referring cases for criminal prosecution. People are going to go to jail over this, which is something we've never seen before.
This seems like the kind of government oversight we should have had all along, right?
Exactly. This is what actual government accountability looks like. Not committees, not reports, just results. And man, the left is absolutely losing their minds over it. Because a lot of this money was flowing to their pet projects and special interests. That's why they're freaking out so hard right now.
So I've got to ask about this story that's been making the rounds. Did the Small Business Administration really approve a loan for a 9-month-old baby? Like, is that even real?
Oh my God, yes, that actually happened. And it's not just some internet rumor or, exaggeration. DOGE found concrete evidence that the SBA handed a $100,000 loan to an actual infant. A baby who literally can't even hold a pen somehow applied for and received a business loan. I mean, this is beyond incompetence. This is just straight up fraud.
But how does something like that even happen? Don't they have, verification processes?
That's the thing that's so infuriating about all this. The verification process was basically non-existent. It was just rubber stamps all the way down. During COVID especially, they were just pumping money out the door with zero oversight. And this wasn't some one-off case either. DOGE has uncovered thousands of these ridiculous approvals. Dead people getting loans, pets getting loans, completely fake businesses. The list goes on and on.
So where did all this money end up? I mean, the baby probably wasn't investing in the stock market or something.
Right. The money obviously went to fraudsters. Most likely it ended up in offshore accounts, or was used to buy luxury goods, or who knows what. The point is, this money was supposed to help legitimate small businesses during tough times. And instead, it went to criminals who knew how to game the system.
And we're talking about how much money total here with all these fraudulent loans.
We're talking about hundreds of billions, potentially. The preliminary estimates from DOGE suggest that up to 30% of all COVID-era small business loans involved some form of fraud. That's taxpayer money just vanishing into thin air. And nobody in the previous administration seemed to care at all. It was like, oh well, cost of doing business, But Trump and Musk are actually holding people accountable now.
So what's being done to fix it?
They're implementing actual verification systems, for starters. Real ID checks, real business verification, real follow-ups, and they're actually pursuing criminal charges against the worst offenders. Plus, they've frozen payments on all suspicious accounts while they investigate. The left is screaming about it, calling it an attack on small businesses, but come on. A 9-month-old small business owner? That's not politics, that's just common sense oversight.
So Adrian, let's talk about something else that's been under the microscope lately. The international funding changes. I've been hearing that Trump and Musk have been making some pretty big waves when it comes to how we're spending our money overseas.
Oh man, this is actually one of my favorite parts of what they've been doing. So you know how for decades we've been sending billions and billions of dollars overseas for all these random programs that most Americans don't even know about? Well, DOGE has basically taken a chainsaw to that whole system.
What kind of programs are we talking about here?
Get this. They found that we were literally, and I'm not making this up, funding gender studies programs in Uzbekistan. Actual taxpayer dollars go into that while Americans are struggling to pay for groceries and gas? It's absolutely insane.
Wait, seriously? Gender studies in Uzbekistan?
Totally serious. And that's just one example. There were these massive slush funds masquerading as, social justice initiatives or democracy-building programs that were basically just money pits. And a lot of this funding was going to these DEI programs overseas that had zero accountability and zero metrics for success.
So what's happened to all those programs now?
Gone. Just completely gone. Trump and Musk have shut down what they're calling demoralization projects. The funding has been completely cut off. If these programs want to continue, they're going to have to find private funding because the American taxpayer gravy train has left the station.
I imagine there's been some pushback on this.
Oh my God. The State Department bureaucrats are absolutely losing their minds. They've been running these programs for years with zero oversight, and suddenly someone's actually asking, hey, what exactly are we getting for this money? And they have no answer. It's beautiful to watch, actually. This is exactly what Disruptarian Radio has been talking about for years. Accountability for how our money is spent.
So where is that money going instead?
Back to the American people, where it belongs. Or at least, that's the plan. Some of it's being redirected to actual infrastructure and programs that benefit Americans directly. It's really the first time in modern history we've seen this kind of, America first approach to the budget. It's pretty revolutionary when you think about it.
So I've been seeing some pretty wild stuff happening on the streets lately. The response from the left to all these changes has been intense, right? Like, what's your take on how Trump and Musk's opponents are reacting to all this?
Oh man, Ryan, it's been absolutely bonkers. Like, completely unhinged. These folks who claim to be all about tolerance and peace are, literally torching Tesla dealerships and vandalizing cars with swastikas. It's like they've gone full, what's the term? Brown shirt tantrum mode.
Brown shirts? That's a pretty strong comparison.
But it's accurate though. Look at what they're doing. They're screaming about fascism and Nazis, while actually behaving exactly like the authoritarian forces they claim to be fighting against. The irony is just, it's thicker than Biden's ice cream cone, man. And the media just gives them a complete pass on this violence.
What specific incidents are we talking about?
We've seen protesters breaking windows at Tesla stores, threatening Musk supporters, vandalizing X headquarters. There was that incident in Portland where they burned that Tesla Model 3 that had a Trump sticker on it, remember that? And all while chanting about defending democracy or whatever. It's complete madness.
Do you think there's any legitimate criticism mixed in with all this?
Look, criticize policies all day long. That's totally fine. That's what America is about. But these aren't policy disagreements anymore. This is straight up political violence. And what's crazy is, these are the same people who lecture everyone about extremism on the right.
What do you think is really driving this reaction?
Fear. Total fear. They're terrified because Trump and Musk are actually doing what they promised. Draining the swamp, cutting the fat, exposing the fraud. The left built their whole power structure on government dependency and control, right? And now that's being dismantled, and they're panicking. It's like they're watching their religion collapse in real time.
Do you see any parallels historically with this kind of reaction?
Absolutely. Every time a truly disruptive force comes along to challenge entrenched power, the establishment goes nuclear. They did it to Ron Paul, they did it to anyone who questions the military-industrial complex, and now they're doing it to Trump and Musk. But the difference is, this time they're actually losing, and that's why they're getting more desperate and, frankly, more dangerous.
So when we look at what's happening with the Trump-Musk administration, I can't help but think about like the libertarian angle here. Do you think libertarians are finally getting what they've been asking for all these years?
Oh my God, Ryan, yes. This is basically the libertarian dream finally being realized. Like, for decades, people like Ron Paul, Rand Paul, Barry Goldwater, all these libertarian voices have been warning us about exactly this, right? They've been saying a bloated government is, by its very nature, going to be a corrupt government. And now Trump and Musk are actually doing what even Reagan couldn't pull off.
What specifically about their approach feels libertarian to you?
Well, it's not just talking points, they're actually shrinking government. The whole DOGE project is identifying hundreds of billions in waste. That's real money that should be going back to taxpayers instead of funding, some gender-neutral space colony or whatever crazy projects they were funding before.
And what about the market aspects?
That's the other piece that's so exciting. They're ending corporate welfare, man. No more of these sweetheart deals for big corporations that take government handouts and simultaneously pushing woke policies that most Americans hate. The free market should actually be, free, not propped up by government subsidies and regulations that only benefit the connected insiders.
How does free speech fit into this libertarian vision?
It's absolutely central. Look at what Musk has done with X. It's literally the last major platform where you can actually have open debate, and the left is completely terrified because they can't just silence dissent anymore. Free speech is like the cornerstone of libertarian thought, right? And for the first time in forever, we've got people in power who actually believe in it, instead of just paying lip service.
Do you think the Pauls would approve of this administration?
I think Ron Paul is probably sitting somewhere right now with the biggest smile on his face because he spent his entire career talking about the Federal Reserve, government waste, endless wars, surveillance state, all these libertarian concerns. And now we're finally seeing some real action. It's not perfect, and no libertarian would say it is. But man, it's the most progress towards small government we've seen in our lifetimes. It's like we're watching the swamp actually drain in real time.
So let's talk about these spending cuts. DOGE has apparently identified like $400 billion in government waste. That's a massive number. What does that even mean for the average taxpayer?
Oh man, it's huge. Absolutely massive. So DOGE, Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, has gone through the books with a fine-tooth comb, right? And they've found $400 billion in pure waste. That's not, like, debatable spending priorities or something. We're talking about actual waste, fraud, and just complete nonsense spending that nobody even knew was happening.
Where was all this money going before?
Everywhere, man. It was like this giant slush fund that just kept feeding the beast, you know? I mean, we're talking about billions going to foreign aid programs that did nothing, government agencies with overlapping responsibilities, consultant contracts that produce zero results, and those DEI programs that were just burning cash with no measurable outcomes.
What does this actually mean for people at home, though?
It means a couple things. First, this is money that should eventually find its way back to taxpayers, like either through tax cuts or by reducing the deficit, which helps fight inflation. That's real money in people's pockets. Second, it's proving what we've been saying on Disruptarian Radio for years. The government is fundamentally inefficient and corrupt.
Do we know specifically where these cuts are coming from?
The biggest chunks are coming from administrative bloat. Like they found entire divisions of agencies that were basically doing nothing but generating paperwork for other divisions to process. It's absolutely insane. They're also finding these bizarre programs that nobody even remembers authorizing, like funding for studies on how climate change affects the mating habits of sea slugs or something. Come on.
Is there any pushback on these cuts?
Oh God, yeah. The bureaucrats are screaming bloody murder. Every program has its defenders, right? But here's the thing. For the first time, we have people in charge who just don't care about the whining. They're looking at actual results, not intentions. And that's how government should work. It's your money they're spending. It should be accountable, it should be transparent, and if something's not working, it should be CUT.
So I've been wanting to talk about this for a while now. What's happening with Musk and his influence on social media, especially with X, formerly Twitter? How's that all playing into free speech issues right now?
Oh man, this is Delhi. This is actually one of the most important developments, right? So when Musk took over Twitter, now X, everyone on the left absolutely lost their minds. They were like, oh my God, it's the end of democracy. But what's actually happened is, it's become like the last real platform where you can actually say what you think without getting banned or shadow banned for wrongthink.
What was happening before Musk took over?
It was completely insane, dude. Like before Musk, Twitter was basically this echo chamber where only approved opinions were allowed to trend. They were suppressing stories that didn't fit the narrative. Remember the Hunter Biden laptop story that magically couldn't be shared? And they were banning people for stating basic biological facts. It was pure censorship, but, from corporations instead of government, which somehow made the left think it was totally fine.
And has that actually changed now?
Oh, totally. Musk has done this complete 180 with the platform. He's opened up the algorithm, he's restored accounts that were unfairly banned, and he's basically told the censorship mob to pound sand. And the interesting thing is, this is driving the authoritarian left absolutely crazy because they can't control the narrative anymore. They're seeing their ideas actually have to compete in the marketplace of ideas, and they're losing.
Is that why we're seeing so much pushback against him?
Exactly. Look, the attacks on Musk aren't because he's doing a bad job. It's because he's doing too good a job at exposing how the game was rigged. Free speech is like kryptonite to authoritarian ideologies. They need censorship to survive, because their ideas just don't hold up to scrutiny or debate. So now they're calling him dangerous, they're calling him a threat to democracy, when all he's doing is letting people speak freely on a platform he owns. It's completely backward.
Do you think this is having broader impacts beyond just social media?
Without a doubt. What Musk is doing with X is creating a template for how to fight back against this creeping censorship culture. He's proving that you don't need to silence opposition to have a functioning platform. And he's showing other tech leaders that standing up for free speech isn't just the right thing to do, it can also be profitable. That's the power of the free market working exactly as it should.
So as we start wrapping up here, what's your overall take on the first 100 days of Trump's second term with Musk by his side? I mean, it's been a wild ride, hasn't it?
Oh man, absolutely wild. Look, I think what we're seeing is, unprecedented in modern American politics. We finally have an administration that's actually doing what they promised. They said they'd drain the swamp and expose corruption, and they're actually They're actually doing it, not just talking about it like every other politician for the past, I don't know, forever.
What do you think happens next? Where does all this go from here?
Well, I think things are going to get even more intense, right? Because the deeper they dig, the more corruption they're going to find. And the people benefiting from all that waste and fraud, they're not just going to roll over. They're going to fight back harder. We're already seeing it with the protests and the violence against Tesla dealerships.
Do you think they'll be able to keep this momentum going?
That's the big question, isn't it? I really think they will if, and this is super important, if people stay engaged and don't get complacent. The establishment is counting on Americans to get distracted and lose interest, right? That's how they always win. But if people keep paying attention, keep demanding accountability, man, we could actually see some real, lasting change for once.
Any final thoughts for our Disruptarian Radio listeners?
Yeah, just stay informed, stay engaged, and don't believe everything you see in the mainstream media. They have a vested interest in protecting the status quo. Look at multiple sources, do your own research, and support the people who are actually trying to fix the system, not just manage it. This is possibly the most important political moment of our lifetimes, and we all need to be part of it.
Well, that's all the time we have for today on Disruptarian Radio. Thanks for joining us, and remember to tune in next week for more punk rock libertarian content that the establishment doesn't want you to hear. Stay free, stay disruptive.